get stuck and like, so a truck was stuck and now I just take a different route that I don't have to go.
Oh, there's one now, right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Well,
is that
Happy New Year.
tonight?
Somebody sing here?
Yeah, I got the other
See ya.
view. I have this view.
Christmas, Happy New
From
Year,
Homestead?
Yeah.
all that stuff. I will do. Oh, we gotta open,
Hello.
Hey, Carlo.
Hey, Jason. Healthy New Year.
Happy New Year. Everyone's here, I think. Can you see?
Hey, folks. Happy and healthy New Year to all.
Hello.
So I'm trying to keep you on like this, all right?
Yeah, whatever works.
Okay, let us know if you need me to move you around or whatever.
We're good. Thank you.
so I think we have a quorum. Except for Manny. Is he coming? Or-
But Manny doesn't count because he can't vote.
Oh, right.
I hope
But
he's
he,
coming.
no,
Yeah.
but he's not,
2, 3,
no,
4, 5.
Jerry emailed that they're not coming.
Yeah.
Manny's not coming
He
either?
said it was both him and Manny.
There's a trustees meeting at 5
Oh,
p.m.
I thought it was just Jerry.
No,
I
it's both
think
of
it's
them.
both of them.
So there's a trust meeting tonight? Is that why he's not here?
I think it got rescheduled. Emergency trustee meetings, I
Yeah,
think,
that's
what I
what it
saw on
said,
the
yeah.
agenda.
Why are we in here then?
I think they're in there. That's all. We had court.
Okay.
What
Out
are
of
we
the
now?
conference room or? Yeah, we commandeered so are we, I don't even know the process.
Okay, so
I'll
generally,
defer to,
yeah, we're gonna start. So,
Yep, can we,
Your
we should
motion.
start the meeting?
You're supposed to call a meeting to order.
Oh, thank you. Calling the meeting to order at 7:03, I believe. Clock is right. And who's taking note? You're taking notes? Thank you. So calling the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. We have an agenda that was prepared thankfully by the village staff. Appreciate it. One thing I want to talk about, I have a couple of other agenda items and I'm sure you may have some as well. They're nothing major, but just curious how the agendas have been formed in the past, because I think certainly
So-
there's a lot of items, and I did get a chance to look through the minutes, and I saw that there was some discussion about whether the trustees should drive the topics and then we opine on them, or vice versa. So I don't think that was resolved, at least I didn't see that question resolved in minutes, but without Jerry or Manny here, it's probably best to table that conversation as well.
You're correct,
So-
though, it was not resolved.
Yeah,
I question it because I was present for the conversation where it took place, and I thought it was kind of weird, like, for us to not be able to bring ideas to the table.
So-
And then if we bring ideas to the table and then we have to wait for them to go to the board to say, yes, you can discuss this, or no, you can't, I felt was not productive.
So I don't think that was like the gist of it. It was more Manny saying like, if we have ideas, let's like plant the seed with them early and we can continue to do stuff, but don't go like too far down the path. Just like, he wants to make sure that there's like appetite for it with the board.
that we don't
but-
spin our wheels essentially. Is that
Yeah,
basically
correct.
the thing?
But I don't. has there been
It felt like
major
more of a
issues?
control method to me. That's the impression I got, but again, I wasn't there for the conversation.
No, I think I think it may be like read incorrectly in the minutes, but
That's the way I read it in the
More-
minutes. Okay. so,
yeah, I
all right.
think because you had the same response to it, like, I think
I didn't do those minutes, that was
Yeah.
Tina, so that's why I questioned.
I
it
think
the
it was
next
a little bit more just like, if we bring things to the board early and get their buy-in early,
Okay.
then when it comes to the vote, then people are like more well-versed in it and like have like.
I mean,
more-
certainly there's always a tension on these committees with people who want to advocate for different things, which is why we're all here, because we're all feel pretty strongly about how we use the parks or our recreation programs. So that, and we're also, I reread the original resolution appointing the committee, and we're really an oddball because we're both advisory, kind of like the budget committee is only of advisory, but we also approve the fees and that kind of thing. So that was interesting to me. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that 6 years ago. or whatever. So-
We approve the recommendation that they're making, we
Right.
don't actually have the power to say yes, like.
Right. No, it says approve. We approve, I think. I could be wrong.
I just don't
But-
think we have any power, we might approve it, but.
Yeah,
that
I mean, the
doesn't mean
trustees
they're
are
gonna agree
always,
to it.
that's true. I think of all the committees, trustees are
Yeah, they have the
afraid
final
to
say.
agree or disagree. Some
They
with
trump
more
all.
consequence. What's that?
They trump
But they-
all.
Yes, they do. Some with more legal consequence than others. So I think, I don't know if they're gonna override a planning board all the time. Okay, so the other topics I have were just the sport time contract, which was circulated. And I just really would appreciate an update, but again, without Minnie here or Jerry, I don't know if you all know. And then the other item, and we don't have to talk about it now, I just want to tell you the topics I wanted to add. So sport time was one of them. And then there was another one, I think it was a document you circulated about, I'm not sure who circulated it, about the Greenway.
That was my,
Yeah, thank you for,
Yes, and I am about.
so I gathered from your email that you weren't aware of it either. I'm certainly.
So
aware
I
of it.
got this, I got that presentation through the back channels after the fact, and I think the board already.
So
had-
did I. I wasn't aware of it until
Right. What
post
is
board
it?
meeting.
It's a park proposal, basically,
Yeah,
for
I
all.
copied everybody in the- I was like, Kate's
Okay.
like,
So why don't we make that, I'm gonna add, I've added 4 and 5, sport time and then Greenway, because I don't want to lose sight of the master plan, which is, I'll call it the wish list, because master plan means something different to me, but and I could see from the minutes that you all have talked about the fact that this isn't this is elements of a master plan. And then the final point that I wanted to add was just which day and time we're gonna meet. And we may just stay with this day and time. I just wanted to,
What's it in the code? Is it, we're supposed to meet the first Thursday of the month, or the first Wednesday?
It's not, it's
not.
codified.
It's not set, like, we can figure that out. if want
we're free to set our own date and just inform the village and then they can update all their necessary calendars. that kind of
And
thing.
say whether or not, if we wanna change, like, Robert sent that email, I don't know if you guys also
Yeah.
found
Yep.
it from Robert. I took a quick glance at the calendar. It looks, to me, it looked like the only day to really, you could switch it to without a conflict was possibly Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month.
That's one of them. And I see the second and fourth Thursdays of the month as well.
I personally would not be partial to Thursday meeting, conflicts with other stuff.
Okay.
And
Even
park-
Wednesday conflicts,
parking
quite
is
honestly,
really-
with Board of
well-
Ed meetings and things like that, but.
Here is fine, but if we ever have to be at the regatta, parking on Thursday nights was like crazy the one time we had a Thursday.
Yes,
meeting.
it is.
Oh,
a
because
bit of
they
a
do
challenge.
the Emlyn concert, the Emlyn Theater stuff.
Oh, I don't know.
I
just
think that's
assumed
why it's
people were, like,
crazy, yeah.
Out
to-
to dinner or something, but it was
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
had
It's
to
a,
park
it's
like
a
a
hot
mile
night on
away.
the avenue
Yeah.
Thursday
Ah.
night, for sure.
Well, that's a good problem to have, I guess. Yeah, we can talk about
Yeah,
that further if you all don't mind. Carl,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Why don't
if
we do them, approve the minutes from
Okay.
the last meeting and then we can go into the agenda.
That sounds good to me. Everybody got the minutes? You sent them last week, thank you.
Yeah, they're in the,
Did anybody have any corrections?
Well, I wasn't really there, but the one thing is, I see you use the abbreviation once, there was one abbreviation that wasn't marked. And I can't remember what it was, I actually haven't marked it.
It was-
Oh, OPA,
Which one?
OPA.
I didn't
Oriented-
spell out
Oriented
Oriented Point
Point
Association?
No,
I can
not,
do that.
not in the first one, that was the only one that I noticed. It's only mentioned once. actually.
It is. Do you want me to spell it out? and then-
Yeah, it's just for,
so people know what it is. like
10
that.
years from now,
Yeah.
yeah, or whatever.
My only comment too was I was talking about knowing residents who would pay. I know residents who claim to be able to raise the funds.
Okay.
So maybe say raise the funds to pay. See that on the second page.
Nope. Here.
So
Yes, I see it.
say,
Residents who support the replacement and
are
are,
willing to raise the funds to pay. Is that
how do they say raise monies?
perfect? I guess it's a question for Jeff, because Jeff wasn't here last time. He asked about the progress of the Rushmore Playground, whether you've met with him or heard from them.
Nope, I haven't heard from them since I had a meeting with them in my office probably 2 weeks after they came here.
Yep.
And that's the last
Nothing since.
I've heard. I gave them numbers, I gave them contact info.
Is that Fields for Kids or Harbor Island
No,
Conservancy?
that's
Orient
Orient Point
Oh, the
Association.
APA.
Yeah.
They
Approach.
come and
I
presented
mean,
here.
They came and presented this large extravagant playground, and the company that they were looking to use, the village doesn't necessarily use them anymore because we've been burnt by them in the past.
Right.
So I gave them new contact information and kind of died out there.
Yeah.
And when they presented, we also had told them like the scale that they were looking for was not something we would be on board with, because it was just.
They want to go
It
from
was
like
like
a
as big as
2,500
Harbor
square
Island.
foot to 75.
Wow.
And it's
Yeah,
not, it
huge,
shouldn't be a
humongous.
destination playground, it's a neighborhood. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's in the harbor on the West Basin side, but it's still a oriented neighborhood playground, and it's not
Yeah,
really,
so
so.
Well, the OPA hasn't met in about 6 months. I think there's a new president, so hopefully now with the new president, they will pick that back up again.
I've had some passing conversations with Christine,
Yeah.
just because I know her personally, but
Right. I know she was an advocate, so was the
Yeah,
other person,
nothing.
Beth. Yeah.
nothing came to fruit.
And the OPA is sitting on $25,000-$30,000, I think, somewhere in that range, where they wanted to, if I can use it for.
We could probably come up with some other.
They wanna-
I'm down there twice a day, so.
Could need a lot more
The
than that.
Rushmore side?
Yeah, but 30,000 something.
Get you one swing.
Yeah.
Maybe, it's so expensive.
So speaking of making corrections like that, can we go and correct minutes going back a couple of months? Because having
No.
read through them,
That ship has
there's a
sailed.
point in there that I'd hate to think
So we
about
need to
somebody reading
approve
it.
these as corrected. So I make a motion to approve these as corrected.
You want to second it?
All those in favor? Okay,
Any
continue.
nays? Carlo?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you for the
Yes,
Robert's
sir.
Orders lesson. So minutes are approved. The issue I have with the minutes from, I believe, February or March is that it references the sport time contract and the fact that it says something in the minutes to the effect that it's offset taxes by 12% over the years, which is not correct, as we know, sport time pays us a 12% fee, basically, of their 12% of the revenue. They've offset maybe 1% of our taxes every year. So, what's that?
Don't even think that much.
Yeah, well, we're what, about $40 million budget now, 45 million? Yeah, so it's,
430,000.
yeah, so, yeah. So it's in that region of 1% or less.
Mhm.
So I'm just concerned that somebody might read that future years and say, why would we?
Get rid of it.
Well, if we're
Go on.
talking about sport time, then that can be
Yeah.
noted in these minutes
Thank you.
to accurately reflect.
So I
the
don't
proper
actually-
amount. So if you tell me exactly what it is, that is the clarification, I will make sure that it's.
Okay.
correct, because anything that I've put in the minutes is what was said at this meeting. So
Right.
if there was an error in the number
Right.
in that meeting, I can't help that. And I don't know the numbers. I can only
Yeah,
take
yeah,
what's given to
yep.
me. So, but we can.
That's a good
certainly
idea.
correct
So
it.
why don't, when we get to that agenda point, I'll add that comment in there, because I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot to discuss again without Jerry here.
Why don't we just take that agenda for now? Because I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
just tell
We're
you what
talking
I
about
know,
it.
because
Yeah,
I
right.
actually asked my bosses about it twice, the day before that and today, about this specific topic, because I needed some clarity. So the work session on the 8th, this coming Monday, there's an item on there that says sport time contract update, which Jerry asked me to send to you. And the idea is that Trustee Rawlings would like to discuss it in an open forum. There has been no dialogue between the parties. there's been no, we would like this and we would like this. There's been none of that. So that's where we're at. I think they're just gonna have an open discussion at the meeting about where the board members stand. Do you want to negotiate with them? What do you want to do? So that's what's going to be happening. I spoke with Dan today and I believe it's going to be, I'll have it tomorrow. I will circulate the current sport time agreement with you guys. I'll email it to you so you can see what their current contract looks like. Because over the years, it's been very similar. You know, I mean, they just extended. So I think you can at least have an idea of what the basic agreement is. And I'll try to do that tomorrow morning. I'll try to circulate that to the PRC so you guys can all read that. And like I told Dan when I spoke with him this morning, is my hopes are, and I'm not the final say, is that whatever they negotiate before anything is approved, that it would come back to the committee for review. Whether it will or it won't, I can't promise that, but that's what I've asked. Historically, since I've been here, we've renewed a couple times and it just gets renewed and they don't even, they say it's renewed for X amount of time, you know, so it's not really something that they involve me with or Jeff with. But I would like us to have a little bit of more community involvement in that contract and what it entails and what we get and what they get, and just making sure it's all copacetic with the community.
Well, I recall last year us discussing sport time and asking Jerry for a cost analysis as far as if we were not to renew sport time, what we could do with that space, take our space back and utilize it to our benefit. I don't think we've received that to date.
So I think originally we were talking about putting a community center there, and then a few months ago, like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, we said that that wasn't a great location for a community center, so it didn't really help us that much to have that space back, except to maybe on the basketball court,
And
on their outdoor.
it would be a good playing field for sure.
Okay,
We
so
also-
like,
There's a lot of things we could do with that space though,
Yeah.
without giving it to sport time.
We also had an ad hoc committee. Jason, you know as well as I do.
Correct.
Yep.
Myself, Manny, Tina, and 2 members of the tennis. And I forgot his name, Gonzalez, correct?
Who owns, the guy who owns Sport Kind, Claude Oken?
No, not Claude,
no,
his,
Somebody from the community.
yeah, no, he's the general manager, Jason.
Carlos,
Carlos, that was it. So we met probably 8 to 10 times and went nowhere with it also. And I always said it, and you know as well as I do, I always say re-up, and that's all they do is re-up. Status quo. So it would be nice to take it over and we run it and we would make a ton of money. More than what they're giving us, I feel.
I think you're right, but I think Carrie is
Well, that's what
also
we asked Jerry for.
right. I think I agree with you, but in my line of work, we usually have to put things down on paper and prove it. So, you know, that's we're not there clearly. So
No,
I would say I'm a skeptic of that. I know that the town runs a rink and they don't run that commercially for good or bad. But there's a lot of unused ice time and that sort of thing. So I like the idea of having a commercial operator in there who can maximize the use of facility. I'm not sure about that operator in particular. And, certainly there's other operators in the community or in the area where Eversol has a different operator there. There's another tennis court operator down in New Rochelle. So that's the only comment I would have on that, but I agree. Without the numbers that can be provided by the village, including an assessment of what other operators are out there or what they might pay, there's.
just to be
no point.
clear, when I say that I think we could make a ton of money, not with what's existing. I would never
Correct.
recommend that the village take over.
Right, because there needs to be some capital investment.
No, that's a losing proposition for us. We need an operator. But if we were to build a community center
Oh,
or
I see.
a turfed indoor bubble or something like that, I think we could maximize that nicely.
Right.
But as it stands now, no, there's just
Right.
just
Turf would be a-
getting the training coaches alone would be
Right,
an effort.
but turf fields are definitely a moneymaker these
Yeah,
days.
that's
So forgive me, again, I tried to find this in the minutes. Carlo, I'm sure you brought up the past discussions 10 years ago about putting a whole facility behind the treatment plant, right? And then opening up that space for playing fields. And that was a non-starter for a variety of reasons, but my recollection was Sport Time wanted to do that with the village guaranteeing the bond or something, right? So basically we would be underwriting the financing.
So I'm
of
pretty
that.
sure they were fighting over the original agreement because Sport Time claimed it was perpetual
Right.
until they built their
Right,
multi-sport facility,
right.
and the village read it differently. And I think Dan is accurate in saying that the village, like they did with the Regatta building, I believe they guarantee bonds, they would guarantee the bond, which makes your rate go down significantly,
Yep.
you know, from 6%, 3% maybe, you know, so it's half. But that was it. Never heard anything about it after that, so.
So I don't want to belabor the point that, again, we're all sort of sitting here, but I would say that for me personally, I'm troubled that this has always been treated like a financial transaction when there's clearly other issues. And the only issue that I've seen that we want to ask for is a basketball court. And I've just jotted down at least 2 other issues that I can think of that I would insist on if they're not already in the agreement. One of them is more community programs and our ability to define what those programs look like. And 2 is data. Like, and I know you've requested it. Again, Jason and I discussed this morning. This has come up every year, and I'm sure it's come up in the prior meetings. They're just like in fog here. They run it commercially, and we essentially let them because we always just renew on commercial terms. And that's not in the best interest of the community. Certainly we like money, but I'm not, you know, that's why I wanted to make sure that point was out there about how much this really funds. We're talking about 1% of the budget. So I'm sure various taxpayers would say that, you know, we should be leasing all of our facilities, right? And have the best, highest bidder for that. And that's fine, but we should be realistic about what that benefit would be. I mean, we could, you know, we're talking about at best a 1% reduction in our taxes or offsetting other increase, that kind of thing. Again, I don't want to dismiss it, but it's just that's not why we're here as a committee either. So
Dan, in
I'd
order
like to, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, go finish. I'm sorry.
Well, I'd just like to propose that we, I don't know, not a resolution, but just a comment for the minutes or something that just makes the observation, because I think I'm hearing the opinion same as mine, which is we're just kind of, we'd like to hear more about what our strategy is going in, and we want to be part of forming that strategy about our negotiating strategy. And honestly, I feel like it's too late. It's already January, and
Hi, everybody. Do I handle it?
how many?
Sorry, I'm late. You're interviewing the prosecutors. So.
There's agenda right there.
Perfect. Yes, I have a text.
So just to bring up to speed briefly, because the Sport Time check got circulated around, I asked about the contract, as you all saw in the email, and Jason gave us an update on the fact that, you know, going up for renewal. We've talked about whether or not they can release the tennis court to us. We talked about a whole host of other historical things that we can talk about in minutes. And I just made my comment that I'd like to see more. I'd love to hear more about the strategy that we're going into. We've been treating these as basically financial negotiations for the last 2 decades. And we always kind of revert to that. And it would be nice that if we can think about what are the non-financial things we want out of them? What do we want a really good operator to be doing? And then start thinking about what the alternatives would be. And then I was right at the point where I was going to say, because I don't want to lose this point, it's January. It almost feels late for me that we're having this conversation because the contract's up in July. They certainly want some kind of certainty. And that's how we end up in these situations where everybody's just kicking punt into the next year. Sorry for the sports analogy. We'll just take it up again next year. We'll just renew it. Fine. They threatened to sue because we waited too long to get back to them. Like, that's my concern. So,
Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, the January 8th meeting, I was told, it's more of just a board level discussion on the Sport Time.
Yeah, so
It's not, there's not been any negotiations or any of that, right?
No, it's
Okay.
really to begin the board discussion of what we want, because I really want to say, be able to take that outside court, but I emphasize also what Dan is kind of saying here. We should ask for, if we can get more, negotiate more, instead of it just being this financial thing of like, oh, well, let's just renew it because we know they're going to give us $500,000 every year. I think we should ask a little bit more from them. That's why I really want the outside court. I think you would be able to utilize that for camp, but our residents would also be able to utilize it.
Or even like, this I think goes along the lines, we have 330 day campers that are stone's throw away from that tennis court, but we can't use it. Maybe we can
That's-
incorporate lessons for our
And
day
that's what I-
campers
exactly,
and
that's something I would want to bring to the table and discuss with them is how we can come with some type of agreement where our residents, whether it's through camp, or we can have some more clinics, or just some
Scholarship program for our
programs
residents,
where our residents can be able to take advantage of it.
Back to the community.
Exactly, 'cause I
Give
just,
back.
I mean, I'm not very familiar with their, the demographics of who's really using the tennis bubble, but I really believe that it's probably not a lot of people from the village of Laverne, but I think it's also, that could be the case. We could, in order for that to grow, we should be able to offer more scholarships, if they can do some more clinics, if they can partner with a summer program where we can offer some type of lessons throughout the entire summer program. I want that relationship to be more than that, just being a financial influx of cash, but also a stakeholder within our village and American community. So that's where my mindset is, and that's why I put it on the January meeting. I agree. I remember when I was even on the board, I feel like it's always like too late. It's like, oh, let's just renew for another year because we don't have time to discuss and we don't want to go into.
Well, also threat to sue.
Yes, we don't want to go into any.
We're back-footed right now. I just want to say, I completely agree, and I don't want to speak for the committee, so I want to with you, but I think there's so many non-financial things we should be getting out of it. I
Yeah,
don't think we should be asking for a little. It's our asset.
Yeah.
And I think they grudgingly provide the community programs. I know it's grudgingly because they weren't even doing it 8 or 9 years ago. when-
Yeah.
And somebody started holding their feet to the fire,
yep.
and they grudgingly started offering these programs, which are too little
And
and
not as often. and
not as
frequent.
often
Yeah.
and
And-
not, achieving the purpose that I think we want. So, there's all kinds of stuff we
And
should be doing.
they're, to be honest with you, if my staff isn't directed to reach out to them to create these programs, they're not coming to us. We have to create the
No.
flyer, we do the flyer, we do the registration, the free
They
registration.
look at this purely
Right.
as a commercial lease.
Yeah,
So it
and I-
falls on us to make sure that they do these programs because otherwise they won't.
And that's why I really want to bring about the discussion with the board, because I know what my wants would be, but I also want to be able to discuss with my fellow board members to know, are they kind of on the same page of, they shouldn't just be a financial influx of cash, it should be a key stakeholder within our community that offer quality tennis programming to our residents.
And just for a tidbit, the campers used to benefit from it years ago. And that came to a halt also. So they did provide some sort of tennis clinic to the campers during the summer. for your
Was that like
information.
the first couple of years of the agreement, like
Yeah, it
99?
was it was a long time ago, Dan, and you're probably there too, but
He didn't
just
have,
remember-
this was his first big facility or second big one. He had
Yeah,
one on Long
yeah.
Island. And it was before he built out Randall's Island and built out that
Right,
whole. facility.
right, exactly. So he did offer it to the campers back in the day. And then it came to a screeching halt.
Okay, we need to move on.
So, so the other item I would suggest is data and reporting and obligations around that. They don't provide anything from my understanding, even when requested. And I don't know what's required of the
You know,
contract.
I've struggled to even get, how many residents or members use the facility? How many residents by a day, or an hour past use the, whatever? Like, no one to be able to know that. It's like top secret classified information. I don't
Because they
understand.
probably don't want us to know that.
It's,
not many
years
residents
I've been trying to
actually use
find
the
this out,
facility.
even during Carlo, remember during the committee meetings that, the ones that they invited me to, tennis clinic, that we never got it, ever.
No,
We-
no.
Yeah,
No,
we
it's always
never
the
got,
case.
Well, maybe that's a little bit on us. Maybe we have to
Maybe we push for it, yeah.
not let them get away with not providing the information.
So are there any other comments or am I correct that pretty much everybody's in line with what you said?
So it sounds like we're
Mostly.
okay, or at least in the short next few years or next year, whatever. We want to renew it, but we want more community involvement. We're not looking to like put our own thing there right now.
I'm not really in favor of renewing it. I really think it's something that we should pursue and take our parkland back for ourselves. That's my opinion, but
Yeah, my opinion is we should see if there's other operators, but again, I'm concerned we're a little bit late for that right now, but that's a long-term thing and, but long-term, fine. My experience from when I was in the budget committee, and this was came up 8 or 9 years ago now, and people realized, holy shit, they're not providing any of the programs they're supposed to be providing. I just don't think he's not at all community minded. He's made it very clear that he operates this commercially. I don't think that ever changes, quite honestly. So, Is there a resolution or something we should do, Manny, that would help you have that discussion? We can express our disappointment in the lack of an articulated negotiating strategy or something like that in the minutes, or how would you recommend that we proceed this so you have the tools you need as a trustee to really advance this?
Can we make a resolution saying that we want more than just the
That's-
revenue
I was gonna say-
sharing?
I was gonna say, like,
Do we want
the
specific
resolution I want to
programs?
support is just of what our wants would be out of a new agreement. Because I think in the minutes you'll be able to see that, while we're not happy with like this being late again but I just think we should, a resolution saying, these are the things that the PRC believes that we would want out of a new negotiation with sports time, and it's just items that we all.
Is that building an outside base, a basketball court?
So
It could be pickleball, basketball.
return a
anything.
Can I
facility.
make a
that-
recommendation?
Yeah.
So we're gonna make
please.
this a recurring agenda item.
Yep.
So if Dan is agreeable, maybe we draft a quick letter and we review it at our next meeting with the points like outdoor basketball court,
Day camp lessons.
data strategy, what is, maybe just something, a one pager, and then we could all sign off, the group can sign off on it, and then it could be sent to the board for their, right after our February meeting.
Is
And
that
then-
too late? Like, when does the contract?
It wouldn't be too late. I mean, it's on, we're discussed for the first time Monday, so I
Right.
would not.
Okay.
Right, they-
We will not have. a
But at least
decision
if they
made by-
have what
Yeah.
this group is looking for when they enter negotiations,
I think
because,
it has to be
I would-
specifics.
right, I
Yeah.
think they're gonna soon enter negotiations after this January meeting. So if we can get them a letter by first week in February after our meeting, at least they know in writing, this is what our
recommending.
group wants, or this is recommending, can you
And then
please?
long-term, we can, like, as part of the master plan. we can-
Right, and then we'll just keep it a recurring agenda item, whereas we can get updates until that contract is signed or until we find a new vendor or whatever they decide to do.
Okay.
But at least everyone's thoughts and feelings and wishes are written down and.
The truth is, I'm not
It's
close
called
enough to it. All of
memorialized.
my thoughts would be amorphous, other than more community programs and more engagement with your team and more understanding of what day parts are available to us. And it's not like you get 8 1-hour sections in this time of year and 8 1 sections. It's inadequate. That's as far as I could go. And I don't know that this committee could. I mean, that would have to come from you and the village management, not from the committee.
We just want a framework of specific
Yeah,
ideas.
well, I mean-
I
I'm
like
not-
the
I don't-
idea.
I'd
I
rather
like
not
the letter.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather just discuss, an understanding that there's a framework that we're gonna be involved in helping.
No, but I think you have to give something
But the issue
specific.
is then they don't read the minutes, no offense.
You gotta
You're
do
not
something
reading every
specific.
committee's minutes, so whatever we put in those minutes, to be honest, is gonna.
They may not even see it.
Right.
Yeah, that's
We have
fair.
to write a letter.
It's
It's a
an
good
email.
idea.
That's
Okay.
always the way.
That's just my
Okay.
recommendation, I think
Yeah.
it's,
Okay.
and it doesn't have to be some extravagant thing.
No, it's
just
just like
your basic.
Okay,
Like,
so
here,
we'll
here's
draft a
3 or 4 things
letter
we want
for
our
comment at
piece.
the next meeting.
a
Yeah.
negotiation.
These are the
I think
things we think.
it won't be
we-
to the level of like 8 sessions a week or whatever, but it could be like, we want camp
Consistent
access, we
camp,
want
Right.
community programs like once a
I
month
think
or
just the
whatever you-
basics,
like,
you don't
yeah.
even need to say 8 sessions, we want additional community programs built in
Yeah.
for, scholarships,
Mhm.
just something.
We want access for campers.
Right, we want more
you know,
data, we wanna know what the negotiation strategy is going in. Is it a commercial, or is this a commercial, like, is that what we're doing here, or is that not, I think these are all important points.
All right, so, channel, my inner Randy, in the interest of moving on quickly.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one question? What happens if the village doesn't come up with a contract? Let's say if it's in June, say June 1st, if that's the date, if the village decides, listen, we're not gonna,
Shop closes.
now what
I
is?
can't imagine that.
No,
That's
no,
not gonna
the reason
happen.
I'm asking is, so if shop, but you say if shop closes, do they own the infrastructure there?
They own, according to the last agreement, and now, when I read it a couple years back, they own the lights, because they invested $180,000 on new LED lights. We own the structure and everything else, the building, the village's own.
Because the only reason I'm saying is that you couldn't even get a managing company in there to fill out the rest of the year without lights, without making that initial
Oh,
cost.
that company's gonna need time to prepare
So
too,
you're
yeah.
so do you really have an option besides asking them for more services? you really can't.
I think that's
Yes.
why Dan is.
Well,
We
yeah,
agree
that's-
with you, we agree with
Yeah, I
you.
think that's Dan's point.
This year we don't.
We're on our
But
back.
we can ask
Too
them,
late.
we can
It's
ask
already
them
too
for
late.
what
We
we.
should have been having this conversation last
Yes,
July,
your point's well taken. We don't have a
Every time.
negotiation
No.
strategy
Every
for.
every time. Yep.
Because it's not,
Absolutely.
it's not a priority, because it's, I think it's looked at as it's easy money, it's already in place, so why mess with it?
Yeah,
And the reason you mess with it is because
Because
our
those
community
public-
is not getting enough.
no benefit.
And, I mean, if, I look at it as they are basically holding our park hostage in a way, and
It's
I'm
prime
not
real
okay
estate.
with that,
Prime.
but I agree, we do
Not
have
to
to.
borrow your
Yeah.
channeling my ear, Randy again. Yep.
Okay.
Prime real estate.
Especially
Right.
when we're denying folks access to the facilities because we don't have the field space, other organizations. But
So would anybody like to volunteer to draft such a letter? Or is everybody looking?
I
at me?
nominate Randy, because I do the minutes.
I'll draft a letter.
Thank you.
Randy, you know the history behind it too.
Would you like to draft a letter?
No, I said you.
We can collaborate.
You guys can collaborate.
I'm happy to collaborate
Randy
with you on
and
it.
Carlo, you guys email each other and come up
Yeah.
with.
But Randy, you know the
Okay.
litigation behind it and all that, what took place all those years.
Where you want to do the last, were you willing to do it?
Sure.
I'm happy to help.
There'll be three of us.
I'm
yeah, I think
okay?
you all three
I'm-
communicate.
I
and-
just
I'm
wanted to-
certainly not as articulate. as
I
you,
just
so-
want, I just want to do something. I think your point's well taken. I think we need to go on the record that we
Yeah.
want more.
Agree.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson a few times already, that we have to start
Asking for
Asking for
more.
more.
You never
Putting
get what
things
you don't ask
on
for.
paper.
In writing.
In
and not
writing,
when
it
you
doesn't
ask for-
count.
Not by minutes. 'cause
And
the
then
minutes
I've
doesn't
noticed
agree.
this because a lot of other committees do, the tree committee, the environmental committee, they're always getting stuff. They're up there talking to them, they're doing presentations, they're sending letters and
The proactive.
Yeah, we could be more.
not that we're
self-out-
not proactive, I just think that's the way to get things done.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
but
So speaking of other presentations and other committees, can we move to the Greenway agenda? Is that all right? Item? And that was what was circulated by you.
Yeah, so I got that through the back channels. I know that was a presentation from the board, so I received it through my association in Washingtonville. I looked at it 10 times and I thought it'd be a great idea to send it out to you guys because some of the to-do list that I came up with for the parks in Washingtonville encompass flooding. And I did add that in some areas of
Yep.
what we thought of our to-do list or wish list for the park. So I passed it on. I thought some of it was a great idea. Some of it's not common sense, but a good idea to take care of the Washingtonville area along Sheldrake, for example, to actually mitigate flooding. I'm a big proponent of all pennies up to $1. Okay, and once you get to that dollar, things are doing well, but it takes time to get there. I thought with being proactive, I think it would work well with the parallel flood mitigation plan. What the village rolls out, supposed to roll it out there. And so I thought that it would service our parks well. Did anybody look at it other than
I
me?
did.
I see it.
It's proposing basically a new park.
Right, yeah.
A giant one.
But they're also trails along the
Connections.
Sheldrake. You want to do plantings, do you want to do holding areas for floodwaters to, kind of not stagnate, but kind of grow?
Yeah, find a way to connect it with the town,
Marshlands.
into the town. so
Yeah.
that
Right.
One straight walk.
Yep.
So that
It's a
plan that you
trail.
took a look at it, is it like? Who proposed it? What's the,
CFTE.
It was
The
proposed.
environmental committee.
oh, okay, so they're proposing it, but it's not like a done deal or anything.
Who prepared it? It looked like it was
It's
prepared by
I don't know how
consultants.
much, it's gonna cost,
Off the record, it's gonna
Hundreds,
cost
millions.
$150 billion.
I don't know how much,
Yeah.
maybe a lot.
We're getting all that money from Sport Time though.
No, I think
Not
it's like, in the 50s or above, right,
It-
Manny?
It's an expensive plan. It's been presented to me now twice. So I presented at a board meeting and at the flood mitigation advisory meeting as well. And they are aware that it's a large cost and they're trying to find grant funding to fund it. But the goal isn't to do all of the pieces at once. It's the goal is to find one section to do just to get something started and figure out how we can phase that and do a plan. So they presented to the flood meeting as flood mitigation advisory committee to kind of, because they know that it overlaps, like Tim said, with flood mitigation. I want to bring it to one more step and kind of bring it because it does include additional park or and walkway paths. So I think they should also come and kind of speak
Yeah.
to our commission right here to kind of give you guys the background their plan for going and getting dollars and figuring out how we can kind of implement this as well.
It's all village-owned land along the rivers, correct?
Correct.
And it's the, I
And they
touched
want to buy property.
the thread of our park system, and that's us, right? And so I don't want 5 years going by and all of a sudden, let's bring up this Greenway idea. Meanwhile, we're 3/4 of the way of doing something else. So the H project hasn't started yet. Maybe this is a great idea. To piggyback on what Manny said, let's research it, look into it. If we could pull back some of the mitigation of the flooding for some of the areas, I think it's worth the cost.
Get
My
Army
percent.
Corps to pay for it. Or it could be incorporated,
Let the-
elements could be
Yeah,
incorporated. with the
Westchester
Army Corps.
County can pay for it, the state can pay for
Right.
it, let the local pay for it, but funding, right? That's all it's about.
Yeah, so I know they're trying to get, I just know, I think it was Kate, she came and presented and she talked to us about how she's working with Dan and there are grants to get some monies to be able to do, but it would not cover all, this is gonna cost.
No, it'd be a phase. It'd be phase one, here we're
The
gonna do
goal
it,
is
this
to
is the
be
money,
a
phase two is gonna be this,
first.
5 years later, it'll be phase
Exactly.
3,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, they should
Exactly.
come, because I think, like, emailing it and people are kind of glancing at it
Yeah.
here and there, I think it would be nice to have a holistic, like, understanding of what the
I can
proposal
email
is
and ask her to, and see if she's available to come meet, there are, the next meeting of this too.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So
And would that be Kate, I guess, right?
Yeah, it will be Kate, she came and
Right,
presented.
okay.
just so I understand, it's basically the German, it's beyond the germ of an idea, but it's an idea that's no more than a PowerPoint presentation right now.
No, it's exactly.
And
Yeah.
being circulated and getting
Yeah,
people interested and understanding and the
Exactly.
opportunity.
and just trying to figure out what would be the phase, how would it happen, where would the money come from if we were to do this? Because right now, like we as a village, as a board, like we haven't given any dollars to do
Right.
any of this. It's just, it was great to have a presentation, but it also was great to see that, they were gonna kind of take the lead to figure out how they can get, what the plan would be, to essentially develop the plan.
Yeah,
you.
and it's like, I don't recall the details of it or like where the locations are, but if we're starting projects with Fields for Kids and like any of that, there's just a lot of overlap, so, it'd be good to partner. Figure out what's possible.
She'll
Thank
let me
you.
know and then I'll put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I'll email Kate and I'll CC you, and so if and when she responds, then cool, we sure for the agenda.
Good.
Kate is, on the committee.
She gets the chair of it.
Who prepared that deck? Did they have a consultant do that, or that was?
I think I don't know, I'm assuming they put it together.
Kate's husband's a pretty talented graphic designer.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if I had to
the-
guess,
the
I don't
map
know.
itself is-
No, it
It's
looked
pretty
good.
talented.
The pocket parks and everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty,
I'd love to see that on our website, just to show all the stuff we have now. It's really good. It's really cool. Okay, any other comments, questions about that? All right, so, we have, 3 agenda items that we haven't even gotten to yet. The master plan / wish list. Jason's update and Jeff's update as well. So, why don't we talk about the wish list? Now, again, from the minutes, I can see that this has been going on for several months now, and usually Jerry's here. Is it
Well,
preferred
he's-
if Jerry's here?
This is
while we're
his
talking about this stuff?
Jerry's plan. So I got these copies at 4:00 tonight. I guess this is produced from what we sat with and met with over the time.
So over the,
This is basically the questionnaires you guys filled out.
this is a culmination of everything that's happened from the communication to the student committee, the meetings where we've all attended meetings to kind of want to put our ideas together, and this is just kind of it all.
So it's just
put into one.
a question sheet that you guys filled out. Goals,
And then
objectives.
budgets, and it includes the budget and includes some items, and includes some capital items. Some of the capital items we've already kind of gotten, so it's
Right.
kind of moot, and then they're not really relevant, but essentially it's just everything that can encompass what we see the vision from not just me, Manny, saying this is where I think the park should be, but the committee, where also our, department heads to kind of let us know what they see the vision of all our village parks. Cause when I got onto the board, I toured all the parks with Jeff, and I just believe that there was a lot of parks that have been forgotten about and that need major work that I was really glad that we approved. What can be done at Florence Park, because that park, to me, has been in disrepair for a little bit of time now. So, and I just know, I didn't want to do a master plan just for Harbor Island, because that playground needs to be done. I think we need to have an idea of, what we see from all of our village parks. I feel like they have not been on a cycle of, you know, when we can upgrade equipment and maintain. I think now we're at a moment where it's too late to do anything. It's gonna cost too much to keep, you know, repairing parts or getting parts. Like I know at the playground at the harbor, like we can't even get any of the pieces now. That playground needs to just be torn down and redone. And I just think that's because we're never ever on the cycle of updating our parks and keeping them up to date. So like now we're stuck in these moments where we can't shut all our parks down because we need to get more kids to be able to go and play in some of these areas.
That's interesting to use the word cycle, because I remember when I first joined the budget committee and Rich Slingerland educated me on the fire truck cycle,
Yeah.
which didn't exist until I got here. And we were buying new fire trucks in big batches and it made no sense. And
I know that.
got everyone all like, I think it's a 20-year cycle. So is that what you're proposing, that kind of thing, just for the equipment, or?
Yeah, so a bit of this proposal is to kind of, I want to understand from the community's perspective, what we see in our parks, what we think should be improved, but also to try to get us onto a cycle of upgrading equipment. We do it right now with all of our vehicles and
Yeah, garbage trucks.
So I just think we have never done that with parks. It's kind of like, oh, it's falling apart. Maybe now's the time
No,
to
you
do
need
an
real
upgrade and do
plans.
something. So this is really just to kind of develop and actually have a plan so that then we can
Right.
follow something. It's not like.
So spring grounds this year, this playground over here is next
Exactly.
year, and so forth.
Exactly, because and just to know the life cycle, I just feel like a lot of our equipment now is I've walked the parks many times, but you can see items that haven't been upgraded. And I just know, like, I was so happy when Jefferson Avenue Park was done because I feel that playground has been the same since I was a kid and I played on it 20 years ago. So I
Right.
just know, to me, like that.
And how
should
do you
not
feel
be
about it,
repeated.
Jeff?
I would love to be on a scheduled program, you know, every 5 years, every 7 years. This way, by the time you get to each park, you know, you're within that 15-year life expectancy.
Exactly.
End of life, yep, and that's, yeah, I agree with you, because I build networks, so Cisco every 3 or 4 years, end of life, let everybody know, and then when that end of life comes, 4 years, they take out the old, put in the new,
Yeah.
and that's what I think Jeff.
But the key there is letting them know, listen, in the next 2 years, this park's gotta be done, we're hitting our schedule, keep your bank right, because we need,
Yeah.
I just
right, you
think
know what I
that-
mean?
That's the
So-
purpose of me wanting to say, because otherwise we hit moments like we are now, where
We're just
Florence Park needs
in total
work.
disarray.
Tyler's
Disarray.
Playground
Right.
doesn't operate, the Harbor Island Park is being, it's like, we can't,
Increased
that's gonna cost a
costs,
lot
yeah.
of money. to
Right,
do
it just
all
makes,
those
and then the
parks.
community
So
is like,
we have to
okay,
figure out
these
what-
people know what they're doing, you know, like, they're not gonna be up there hooting and hollering when it's time. This reached our 15-year, this is in our plan, it's time, it
Right.
needs to
And
be
that's-
done, and we
And I
plan
just
for
have to
this.
say, anytime we're on the agenda, we, as we need to be more advocates for the parks and recreation departments in these board meetings, because there's a whole bunch of people that are, you know, just angry about everything, spending money, and, you know, they're not mindful of the bigger picture that we've been looking at this for years, and it needs to be thoughtfully worked on continuously.
Exactly, I just think that's kind of what, like, that was the situation I was trying to, when we had when we approved some capital items, when we had, the scenario of like, the spray ground needs to be done, because right now it's either we are gonna keep spending a ton of money on water, because the only way we can operate is to keep it on all day and then turn it off, or we don't have the spray ground, which is a main attraction of the beach. There's a lot of people that come to the beach each summer, like, people are going to Harbor Island Beach, they're not going to the water at the beach.
Well, we
they're
had
going
an
to the spray ground.
unusual bad summer.
Exactly, so
We had to
that
have a
we had to be able to do that, I just think that's.
Could've been bad.
we have to
Thank
have
God
it
we had
there.
the spray ground.
Yeah, thank
Exactly.
goodness, yeah.
So I just think we have to be able to get things kind of on some type of cycle. Otherwise, we're gonna be hit with moments where everything's collapsing. It's like, well, then we have to pick and choose, well, what are we gonna do? Because it's cost about $1.5 million, $2 million. And I just think it's not fair to residents to think, so now we're gonna have to spend millions of dollars on upgrading a couple parks instead of that money going to other really important things like flooding and, you know, other initiatives.
So everything's got to
what-
shut, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Carlo, no, please go ahead.
So just really quickly, everything's got a shelf life, whether if it's a fire truck, a DPW, garbage truck, but you also have to set the money aside every year as well. And we don't do that in parks at all. You know, we haven't done that in
Or bonded.
the community.
Do we never
So-
bond anything for parks?
I don't think.
Capital projects?
Yeah,
Have we ever bonded? I'm sure that we
Always.
have. We must have. right?
This Jefferson wasn't
Maybe not for
bonded,
equipment.
Right.
Jefferson wasn't bonded
That was the reserve.
because we had the money,
Okay.
in the development fund, but yes, Florence will be
Florence
bonded.
probably will be mostly rebonded because of the cost of it, as well as
Oh,
probably. the
yeah, we're
spray
sitting
ground.
on. we're still
Okay, we're
sitting
into
on
the spray
excess
ground?
reserves, huh?
is that approved?
17.
That was approved?
The spray ground, New
Spray ground,
Bandstand,
Bandstand,
and Florence.
Yeah, and Florence
Fantastic.
Drive, yeah, and
Okay.
Florence. Those are the three that
Okay.
approved. The entire Harbor Island was not, because we're hoping to do work with Fuel for Kids to kind of come to the table and be able to do some park improvements out to the harbor.
So what's the ask? Now that we have this nice
Can we, I
document.
don't know if we can have a discussion about Jerry, right?
No, but I think the most important thing, and not just for Jerry, but for me, is can you let me know what you guys like want? I know I heard from Tim, but I didn't hear from all of you. Like, if you're passionate about a park or a certain something we should have, let us know, because I think that's important. That's what Jerry wanted. This to me is, I think, closer to what Dan said, it's pieces of a master plan. It's not all there yet. I think there needs to be, a master plan needs to be, we also need to think about long-term. I
It
know
needs to be coalesced.
it needs coalesced, it needs to be.
There
thought
was
through
a
little
Harbor
bit
Island
more.
master plan.
In
Correct,
2004,
which I think we
Which
all
side
got
was
that.
still-
now.
It's actually had the bubble moving, if I remember right. The
Right, I
tennis
think
ball
Jerry
was-
provided that to you
Yeah.
when he did come, right,
Yeah.
which
It's
was,
in here,
it's,
in this monstrosity folder. I
yeah,
saw it.
yeah, so that, which is also online, if you just Google Harbor Island Park Master Plan, Mamaroneck, first Google link, and that brings you to the website.
But this, the Greenway is also, in a sense, a master plan for all the rest of the parks, so it's great to have a wish list, but, and without context, it's kind of hard to say, and which are
Yeah.
priorities, because I learned like a dog
Generally-
park is a priority,
Off the record, everything's a priority because
right.
we're at the point where we have to start from scratch for most of our parks.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, for Florence and
Yeah.
Harbor Island.
Florence is in rough shape.
Yep.
Right, Florence is surprising.
And a lot of the parks need site work, not just playground
Right.
work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
So,
roots,
so
roots are-
like,
Yeah, yeah.
Roots are coming
Yeah,
up.
no, I know.
so like the
Master plan.
Okay.
the
Okay,
most
one more
important
thing
thing,
about years ago.
the most important thing to me is,
When I first got on.
and this is off the record, Ms. Note Taker.
Yeah, also, in case you
Nothing's,
don't know, Dan, I don't mean to interrupt you. If there's anything, if anybody doesn't know, if you do not want something in the minutes, please preface your statement with off the record, because otherwise I don't know that you don't want it in the minutes and it will end up in the minutes. So
Good
just
to
make
know.
sure you all
Thank you.
are clear with that.
since we're basically gonna be starting from redoing every park, hopefully in a certain amount of time, no idea should be left off the table. Like,
Please put anything.
I kid you not, we've gotten calls about putting RC dirt racetracks in parks.
People have all sorts of ideas, yeah.
I believe that.
It's not,
I remember.
it's
people
not a
coming
bad
to-
idea. We're going into 2023, like,
Yeah.
in 2024. So like, no idea should be left off the table. If you think we should add a skate ramp somewhere, like, bring it to the table, like,
Didn't somebody email us that recently?
Skate ramps are all, in my experience, it's a regular event and people come and present. We actually had kids present. We had
Many
the
years.
sneaker shop
Mhm.
presented one year. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
so no idea should be
Matt
left off.
Bauer.
So what about less specific ideas, more about broad like propositions about I feel strongly that park access is an issue. And I don't mean handicapped access, I mean like just general accessibility, because what I've learned over the years is certain parks are off limits, or neighborhood parks versus community parks and that kind of thing. And I would love, as part of a master plan, to understand, is there a distinction and how do we define it? And what does that mean? Because I think the community hasn't been involved in it. We just hear that Florence Park can't be used for this or that, or that we can't put a dog park here because we can't put parking there. So I think now's the opportunity to have those kind of conversations put them on the table.
When you
Rather than
say
having
off
specific-
Limits, Dan, are you referring to like recreational organized stuff? Or you're not talking about like, I'm from the Heights and I want to go to Florence Park? You're not talking about that,
Well, so
are you?
we also don't make them accessible. So there's no parking areas near some of the parks. Some of them have the opportunity for parking areas and even cutouts, if I recall correctly. Carla, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will. But there are even curb cutouts in some of our parks where there were intended parking areas, but were never built.
Down on
So,
Rushmore, one, for sure.
Rushmore is the one I'm thinking of because I'm there
Yep.
twice a day, but there are others that I'm aware of as well.
Yep.
So, that kind of thing. I mean, I know it's contentious, but if we're gonna talk about a master plan, there's definitely specific projects. I don't know if we'll ever get agreement on what the priorities should be, but just that as a proposition that, our parks should be accessible and how should we make them accessible and available, I guess would be the word maybe to
I think-
use. So,
Thing kind of to that point, and I don't know if this is what you're getting at a little bit, but I just think it's insane when I go to a park that's in our community and there's a sign that says no picnicking, no sports. You know, like that is what a park is for. So those signs that have like a laundry list, where like you're not gonna really get ticket or get
Yeah.
arrested for skateboarding through the park or something, but like, why do we have that? It's so unfriendly, like it's so silly. So that to me is maybe some kind of accessibility where it's like, we're really not gonna let people play soccer in a field, like what's the field there for? So I think,
Yeah, I think the village just has to distinguish between something that's organized and something that's picked up because there's a liability, there's a lot of liability with just allowing an organized.
yeah, not I mean, if you're
Yeah,
gonna
so I
have like
think
a
that's,
league.
it's more
come in and
directed towards
play.
those commercial uses that the village does not want unless it's sport time. or-
Yeah,
Well, I think it's as simple as adding the word organized.
right,
To
But
whatever
that,
it is.
but that
no
goes back to the code.
organized-
Those signs
Right.
coincide, the sign people build them according to the code, right? And
Yes.
that goes back to the code and revising the code to reflect what
Mhm.
we feel the community wants, right? I mean. So,
I just got a question. I'm sorry, because I'm new here.
You don't have to apologize.
yeah.
Get-
I'm
Gedney's
new too.
Pond. Who's in charge of Gedney's Pond? I
Where's
know
that?
who?
Gedney's Pond.
Where's
I
that?
don't know where that is.
It's off of Old White Plains Road.
It's not in the village.
No, it's a town.
Yeah,
Is
that's
it Duck
town-
Pond? Is that what they call Getney?
No,
No, but that's not the village.
but I see Mamaroneck cops up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Doing what?
Village or
I
town of
don't even know where
Mamaroneck?
this is.
No, the Mamaroneck.
I don't
Oh,
even know where
by,
this is.
were you all the way up Old White Plains Road?
Yeah,
Saxon
because you're
Wood
talking
Road
about
down there.
accessibility. There's no way for you to
Is
drive
that a
there.
park?
No, that's why I'm asking, but it's a body of water. It's a big pond. It's a famous pond. It's has a famous picture that's worth millions of dollars that someone painted. But the Village of Mamaroneck Police respond there. But that's an access, it used to be a fishing point, but you can't drive there. It's part of the leather stocking trails that go through there, but you can't drive there. And I never knew who was in charge of that.
Town of Mamaroneck
Town.
Conservation, they have a conservation department and they do all the leather stocking trails. I know that. So maybe that's their.
Yeah, I
responsibility.
just.
They do have a conservation department in the town. A department head that runs that,
One person.
one person that runs that. Liz, I think her name is. Yeah. Liz.
Oh, yeah, she was
Yeah.
out sick and I had to get a tree permit closed, so a house could close. One person, and she was out sick. So I went to the town and I go to the building inspector and go, what happens if she dies? Will no houses close? So I got it closed.
So I think we can talk ad nauseam.
Yes.
But
And
I
Gwen.
think in the interest of time, we should probably at least let Jason and Jeff give us their updates.
Yeah.
Because we also do the schedule.
And we need to read this.
So I just,
Yeah.
I just really want to know what the ask is at the end of the day of this committee with this material. Is it a broader discussion or is it just a wish list? Because the wish list is fine. Good to know that. Shouldn't just be this
Well,
committee.
I think
Okay,
from the
a
village
wish list.
manager's standpoint, he wants to be a master plan that can go to the board,
That's the goal.
right? Manny, am I correct or am I
You're
incorrect?
100% right.
And
But is it gonna go to the board and do what the 2004 master plan did?
Uh,
Like, that's the thing.
That
Like,
two thousand four plan was a village-wide plan, I believe.
Yeah.
no,
I
the
have
two thousand four was just for Harbor.
No,
Park.
wrong,
It was-
wrong.
I'll let Carla go before I give my.
Wrong. There were two Harbor Island master plans, and neither one of them got adopted. And that, neither one of them, they just sat on the shelf, went nowhere, not even to the Board of Trustees, never got adopted. So that's my fear with this one as well. You know, we're spinning our wheels and it goes nowhere.
But I think this goes back to, I'm not sure what we're adopting in here.
Well, I think one thing.
There's
that
nothing really to
definitely
adopt.
helps,
This is just information, right?
Like, we know Florence Park is approved, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we come to the table with, at what we wanna see at Florence Park. Like, okay, we know that this is gonna happen. We're gonna update Florence Park. So if anybody has any ideas about what they wanna see at Florence Park, then maybe speak now or forever
We
hold your
already,
peace.
like,
Like my kids.
Off the record, can't.
Wait, my kids request that little backstop in the field there, it's about 100 feet in from the end, like, move it back because kids, it's in the way, kids run into it, and it's not really a baseball field. right?
No, I don't know why.
I don't even know why it's there.
I agree.
So there's my 2 cents on Florence Park.
It was
for the
there
moment,
because they
but
used
you
to
know
do
what I mean?
T-ball until the residents went berserk. That's why. it was
Right.
there.
I used it with my kids.
Yeah.
T-ball.
I did
Right,
too.
so like, But this is my
So
point, like, we
one of
don't
my
Orange
questions is
Park,
why can't we use it?
For
Oh,
T-ball anymore?
right?
Well,
I'm.
It's just, so that's,
won't say
I,
anymore.
again, if it's wish list, I think we should do that all day. I love it. And, you know, happy to contribute. And I have some wish lists about more, making the waterfront more accessible and that kind of stuff. But
That's
As
a
a-
big one.
That's
as
mine
a
as
general
well.
proposition, you know, I think there should be a definition of what, you know, we want out of the parks and
Well,
who
let
should
me
have
ask you
access.
this, like, say, Forest Park, so we got the, you know, our punch list here, what we want. We should expand that, another meeting and say, okay, we have, you know, 10, 15 items, let's expand that to encompass what it is that we want. That way, at least on paper, we have something documented.
Right.
Right, that's the purpose of the master plan, that's how I'm looking at that.
right, I think there's, the idea behind the master plan is, what are we doing now?
Yeah.
Or what have we done, like historically, how have we operated, what are we doing now? And what are we gonna do 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? So what I think about, which is not in here, is, which we talked to Dan about today, is, you know, we're all facing sea level rise, let's face it. By the time I'm ready to retire, if we do nothing, there might not be that much soccer field left to play on or baseball field left to
Oh, we're
play
gonna
on.
have a great swim team.
We're gonna have a great river, lake, whatever.
Good for ducks.
Right, so like, that is just basic survival of the harbor into the future, right? Does this community want a harbor in 50 years? Because if we don't, then we should just keep the sea level where it is, right? Because it's gonna all get taken over eventually. So, and in that process, you have to raise the seawall, which means regrading the park, which would be extensive work, right? But this needs to be done, so. And those environmental things are not really in here. If you're talking about a plan should be forward thinking.
All right, so without Jerry here, again, in the interest of time, thank you for everybody for, because we're already over time. For next meeting, I guess we'll come with wish lists and hopefully talk more broadly about what he wants
Yeah,
from
and
us
then
as
I'm
committee.
also
and
gonna start
how-
putting, I think I've circulated all those backlogged items
Mhm.
that we have. I have things that Carlos asked me for on the agenda, I have things Carrie's asked, I've had things that Tina had on the previous agenda. So we'll start putting those things back on, so that way they're documented on here, and then we can, like, getting through them, because I'll figure out this master plan situation. But we gotta start getting back to other agenda items
Right,
too.
well, it's you and Jeff, so, any other conversation
Yeah,
about
I
this?
just want to add this, that there are some parks here that are not even, nobody really took.
Right,
We should have a default for that. So regardless if we look at it or not, we should have, you know, A, B, C, and D, you know, just as a default. I mean, I'll volunteer to look at that, knock that out. You want me to just create a default for these here?
yeah, because right now,
It's
we've
fill in the
Jerry
blanks?
only put the information that was sent to him.
right,
From the
I'll-
members, so,
I think there's 4 that we didn't do.
right, so there's certain parks that are not on there, and then there's other parks like Ward, for example, that you wouldn't do anything because we have to wait to Ace, right? So that shouldn't,
Right, we should document and say no
Right.
changes. or
right, because it,
Yeah.
Ward might not be there anymore,
Right.
same with, Bocce Bowl place, what's that one called again?
Bob Walker.
Yeah, that might not be, that might be a holding pond, you know, I don't know, so, right.
Right.
Hey, Jason, question. So you did incorporate my wish list and, you know, and others already in that? Because I don't have the
In this
document.
Document that's
In
gonna
this
circulate go
document,
around.
Jerry said he summarized what everybody that sent.
But also, there also is what, yeah. Yes,
So he did
Yeah.
incorporate it,
Yes, like yours and Tim.
right?
and,
Like expanding for playing fields at Florence and Rushmore Avenue, mine, they're in there, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's, is in there. He did, but there is a section
Okay.
where, and then also in there is I don't know if you guys remember way back when we did that worksheet.
Yeah.
Those are in here where we, you know, threats and opportunities, that
Yep,
sort of
yep.
stuff.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
But it honestly, everything we discuss kind of all goes back to you didn't look at those worksheets. We all talked about sport time and environmental factors and facilities, indoor facilities, like it's the same 8 to 10
Got it.
things that
Yeah.
we've been talking about, so.
Yeah.
For years.
Years, but the pier's getting done, Carlo, remember?
Yeah, it only took about 18 years. Thank you,
All right.
George.
Next item, who would like to go first?
You go for it.
Currently working on Florence. We are trying to start that in February, March.
The
This
renovation.
year?
Yes.
Wow,
To be done by the time school lets out.
that's fast.
Is
we
there a
have-
schematic of
Yes.
what your vision is?
They are working on it.
Who's they?
The contractors.
Have you awarded anyone the contract yet, Jeff?
Yeah, it's all Sourcewell.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's,
Six-state contract.
it's Play Safe for the playground equipment and,
That's the same as Jefferson.
no,
No, we
It's
switched.
different. You switched
Different.
again?
Yeah, we weren't thrilled with him.
Okay.
We weren't thrilled, not with his work,
Jefferson's
but
still
with
not done,
his
off the record.
punctuality. His timeframes.
Okay, so
And
Play
De-
safe for the playground and then.
DeRosa for the, site
Surface?
work,
Surface,
site work,
okay. Who's doing the rubber surface for the playground?
the playground company,
Play safe,
yes, yes.
all right. Are
Uh,
we gonna be able to see what it's gonna look like before anything is finalized? Or is this all just?
So since there's no surveys of any of the parks, we're waiting on the surveyor to come and survey the park, and then there'll be kind of like a CAD drawing of what we're gonna be doing. I have the playground equipment already. It was sent to me while I was on vacation, so I didn't have a chance to put it on tonight's agenda. I could email it to you guys. So yes, there will be somewhat of a drawing of where everything's gonna be, where everything's gonna be laid out.
Getting kind of reorganized a little bit,
It's-
or is everything staying?
It's
where-
getting reorganized. The tennis courts are staying where the tennis courts are. The basketball courts are getting ripped up. We're gonna do 3 basketball courts. We are gonna get rid of the old bocce courts that no one uses. We are gonna add 3 pickleball courts there. The old sand pit
Yeah,
litter box
yeah.
is coming out, and that's gonna house a new infant 2-year-old play equipment.
Okay.
I know everybody asked for more swings, but the problem with more swings is
Space.
more space.
Right.
So, we're getting a little bit more of equipment, probably the same amount of swings, plus the addition of an infant to 2-year-old. Within the same footprint of
Right.
where it's at now.
My only other question is, the residents who live immediately around the park. Is there any concern, about them not being happy with something or improvements? I'm mostly curious about the pickleball because I have heard that pickleball is very loud
I was gonna ask the same.
It's a big
question.
problem in
That's
New York
exactly
not
the only
the
thing I've heard.
best thing to
Yeah.
put in a park that is surrounded by homes.
I will say my favorite line off the record. I don't really care. You bought a house near a park.
I'm only asking.
The park closes at 10. There's a tennis court already in the park. It's almost the same amount of noise. How
My
much
understanding
you-
is pickleball's a lot
Is
more
a
noise.
It is,
lot
because it's a
louder.
wooden,
Higher
it's a wooden paddle on a plastic ball.
Yeah, it's
wiffle ball,
much
and it's
louder,
very
and I've
loud.
just heard people really
Read
complain
the,
about
just Google
pickleball.
pickleball New York City and just.
It's
read
a
the
park.
story.
But you get those
Or-
basketball
Park is
courts.
fine. Like, to me, pickleball down at the harbor is great, because you don't have, you're not disturbing residents.
Well, the problem is.
And Florence Park is like literally surrounded all by homes. Just my 2 cents.
Are those courts gonna be lit?
We're
Yeah,
trying
lights
to light
and-
them.
Yeah, I think we should light them.
Depends on the price.
There should be lighting in the park.
It's just that it's such a high demand. It would be so,
There's lighting,
our
the
residents
park
have been
now,
asking
but
for this for
it's
years since I've been
not
involved.
oh,
Right.
Yes.
that's
Even
what
though I
I'm
don't
saying,
play
there should be-
myself, I just think we need to service the middle agers.
I'm not saying not to, I just don't know.
It's
Florence
just
Park is the
awareness.
best
I-
park to put it in
I-
because of
It's
all
very-
the homes that are so
it's,
close to the park. That's
I've,
all.
I've heard the same thing, and I've actually heard
But
pickleball.
where the
and it's-
tennis courts are pretty far from the house, right?
no, there's a house right next to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you're-
Tennis is not-
You're pretty,
Oh, on the other
yeah,
side.
you're pretty.
It's soundproofing.
What's your update, Jason? Let's move on.
Well, wait,
Jeffrey,
just-
you
I don't know,
done?
Jeff
Jeff
done?
is done?
Sure, I'm done. Randy said, I'm done. Thank you, Randy.
I'm sorry,
Thank you,
Jeff
Randy.
was
I-
on.
nope, I'm done.
I got an update for you, because
I'm done.
the little pocket park area, if you call it that, the little corner of, Rushmore, the Harbor Island Conservancy finished their little work over there.
Oh,
restoring
bench
that whole
come in?
area, the bench, and the
That
tree
right, that-
plantings,
that's
and the
custom
Yeah, the
bench.
Zen garden.
mason work, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, you did well. You did a good job.
Trying to keep my dog away from peeing.
Yeah, no, Randy said I'm done, so I'm done. Thanks, Randy.
Oh, God, you're all really a mess.
Great,
Cut
Sandy.
everybody
Wait,
off,
I have
Andy.
a question about the last meeting. I think you were saying that we're inquiring about a park for Jefferson Park.
Yes.
Any,
So the company who actually built Jefferson Park finally came back.
okay.
They were at the park the week before Christmas.
Mhm.
He took all the measurements, took everything that's missing, and I'm waiting for him to get back to us.
Okay.
It might not be a possibility.
Yeah,
Because of the fall zones for the
Right.
slides are so far, have to be so far away from the blacktop.
Yeah.
That there might be a chance that there's no steps or anything
Yeah.
that can fit in there.
yeah. For everybody's reference, there were like 9,000 parents that were really upset that the big slide is not accessible to little kids because you can only get there from this like Ninja Warrior thing, which is super cool. And we should just be teaching our kids how to do it. But a lot of people were upset, like, my 2-year-old can't go on the big
But your
slide."
2-year-old, the piece of equipment's not designed for 2-year-olds.
Right,
That's why your 2-year-old can't get up there because
Was
it's
this on
not,
next door?
it's not designed
Yeah,
for that
it was
age.
Next
I-
door,
I-
Facebook.
It's just not designed for that age.
I'm not on
About
You
somebody
know?
complaining about if they just did this and I didn't know. if
Yeah,
they'd
off the
gotten back
record, I
to
got an email that was threatening that they were gonna take their kid to another park.
Go to another park.
Go to another park.
That's okay. They can go to another park.
One leaves two.
I just,
Okay.
it's not designed for 2-year-olds.
Right.
It's really nice to see kids in there again.
Oh my God, I walk
It's
by it all
really
the time.
fabulous.
It's
packed.
so heartwarming.
Never
Like,
had
I
any, so
really
many
wish it would've
complaints
been
for a
like that when
brand
my
new
kids were
facility, like.
Sorry.
But-
It's
People
the, it's
just
the new
don't
buyers.
understand.
It's the new young couples who want everything for their kid.
Well, entitlement's a problem. We don't
Well,
know
the old playground, big slides were accessible by like basic steps, so I understand that it's like, this is different.
But now they have a brand new smaller age
Yep,
playground for their kids
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
so I don't think they're really taking that into consideration anyway.
Before Jason goes on, we're working with the same company who's doing Florence. They do the spray ground. They worked very well for us in the past. We are planning on starting that at the end of next season.
What's being started? Spray
Spray
ground?
ground.
And which company is this?
Oh, I thought,
It's the same company that's doing Florence. They also own Vortex, who does the spray grounds. So we are
It's play
gonna,
space.
yes, we're gonna cross our fingers that the spray ground lasts another
I
season.
thought we were gonna build it for Fourth of July.
It's not possible.
Okay.
So
It's
we're
not
holding on to
possible.
it as is for this
We
coming
have to hold
summer.
on to it as is this coming summer.
And the intention is to have a recirculating,
No.
water system? That's
No.
not what happened.
No.
Can't
they're
happen.
not recirculating.
There's,
It's
the-
basically a swimming pool.
it,
right?
won't- even the county won't allow it.
Health
The health department
won't
won't
allow
allow it.
He's not saying it.
You need depth and it needs, yeah, it's gotta be a pool.
So hopefully the spray ground lasts all summer and we'll get working on that as soon as it gets shut down Labor Day.
Why is it not possible? Or what, like, that was.
Just the
change.
timing with everything, because you have water engineers that we're still waiting for. How long it takes to get the equipment. And they really don't want
Apparently
it.
It's like a park times two.
It's
'Cause the
very,
water
it's not,
issue.
it's not like a playground. It's a little bit more complex. There's like engineers that have to make sure the
Yeah.
flow and the pressure.
It's hydraulics.
And it's based off of, Jeff taught me all the PSI coming in to the
Mhm.
harbor. So like there's, I want that. You can't have that because you don't have enough PSI for that. That's what Norwegian Cruise Lines gets, you know?
Make sure you write that out. in
I'm
notes.
smarter than you think.
I don't want to see PSI in the notes. I want to see pressure.
No, you know what? I like people to
That's not
look
what I
things
meant.
up. That's how you learn. So if I spell it all out for them, I'm just
Yeah.
giving them the answer. That's
For
not
everybody that
helpful.
reads the minutes. at least.
PSI.
Spell it out.
Yes, right?
All right, Jeff, any other?
Yeah.
Jason, over to
Randy said I'm
you,
clear.
Jason.
You brought up a couple
Um,
things post me.
So we had our holiday.
Extravaganza.
Good job,
Yeah,
everybody
Tim's
loved
there.
it, yep.
It was a shame it
Uh,
got rained out the second.
Yeah,
time. That was
we,
just sad.
so we had the program on Saturday, it was great. It was one of the best ones the Parks guys ever set up. It was great. We did 175 letters to Santa. Wow.
That went in the mailbox?
And we responded back to, I think, like 140 something, because not everybody gave us their return address. So,
Santa would have known.
yeah, Santa would have known. Well, actually, my staff went on rec desk to see, and they found a few,
Yeah.
but not everybody.
I appreciate the extra effort.
So, yeah, we
Please
sent it,
make sure that's.
yeah, so we
Absolutely.
did that.
That's big that you replied to people.
Hundreds of Santa photos. We did the special needs program on Sunday early,
The best
before the
photo
storm.
of the
So
Santa
the kids
experience.
from.
Everybody sees it.
Jeff put his crown.
Miss Earth,
Miss New York. I don't
Miss
know,
Earth
came.
Universe or something.
Did charity work. She took pictures.
And I told her I'd rock the crown and
And you did.
Yeah.
Was that my friend Melissa?
Yes.
She has a heart of gold.
So nice.
yes,
She
so
is about
nice.
the nicest, most genuine,
Yeah.
most caring,
Yeah, she
most
was-
giving, most kind-hearted person I've ever met in my
You
life.
should have seen the little kids taking pictures of it. You would think she was like Cinderella herself.
No, seriously,
Like
yeah.
seriously, they're like, oh my God, you have a crown.
She's got that like southern hospitality. She's
Yeah,
got
she's
that
very
little, that
nice.
little twang to her.
I rock the
I
crown,
adore her. Like she's just the sweetest person ever. I'm honored that she's a friend of mine.
Yeah, she's great. So, yep, we had that. That was wonderful. We did the special needs program. I think we got like 12 kids from the school districts to come. And so they did Santa photos and all that without the lines and commotion and all that. So that was great.
I just want to touch base on the Santa experience. We changed it from the drive-through. So now it was on Pavilion Field. Unfortunately, we were only able to do it one night because we had that torrential storm that Sunday night.
We were afraid of losing decorations and the winds and stuff.
We actually
so-
lost one of our biggest pieces, but it is what it is. I think we might come up with a idea to at least keep some of the lights up longer. Not all of them,
We
but
want people to be able to
some
see
of
it.
them. This way, keep it up for a couple weeks, like the snowflakes are up on the avenue and stuff. People could come down, walk around.
People like it.
So I think
we get a lot of good vibes from people over there. Like, we want to see them, we want to look around, I want to just.
I think we finally came up with a plan where that might be possible. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to,
Would you like that in the minutes or out of the minutes?
That
Since It's
doesn't
not
really-
possible. You don't know yet.
you can leave it out.
Um,
You know, I like to say off the record,
so that was good. And then
it's like I'm never.
we obviously had our holiday break this time of year.
Jeff stated.
We are doing, camp. We opened camp the last few weeks of February, and the information will go out early February. So like, we're working on that information, and then as well as the event calendar for spring, summer of 2024, which coincides with the event budget that I do. So I'm working on that along with our regular budgets, stuff. A lot of administrative things, this time
How's
of
your
year.
staffing?
Good. We got our rec leader in September, or she started, so that
And
was
that's
great.
been good?
Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah,
Excellent.
She's doing really well. We are starting a partnership with the STEM Alliance. We're doing 2 programs with them, after school programs with them, starting in, I believe, January. So we have a flyer, and that's gonna go out probably next week, early next week. And we're doing Chemistry Chaos, which, they make things do chemistry stuff. And then they're doing another storybook STEM for like the little ones, where they teach about science, but through fairy tales. So we're working on that. So that's cool. We've never done that before. We still have keeps there every day. So that's good.
How many kids are in keeps?
Last count, I believe, is 22, which is kind of
It's cramped.
a little cramped in there, but they use the outside adjacent space, and then during the summer, they're always outside, which is nice. But they do the best they can do, like we all do with the space that we're given. Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. I'm working on a project that will come to you in the next meeting or 2, and then it will have to go to the board. So I'm trying to make AEDs accessible at Harbor Island Park as like a start. And there's this new technology that has a box with a code on it, and you call 911, and if someone's having a heart attack or needs an AED, and they would give you the code, and you would have access to it. Some of our sports organizations, the baseball league, they're being mandated by their overseeing group, which a lot of times is where they get their insurance from. to have AEDs accessible in their facility that they use. So I
What does it
think
stand for?
automated
Defibrillator.
external defibrillator.
Defibrillator.
Electronic or external?
I thought it's
The paddles.
external, but
Do our parks rangers carry those devices on their cars?
they do not, the police department does.
Would you really want a park ranger person to do it?
Yes, yes, I would, because
I
those,
just wanna keep these
those
guys
machines are.
Anytime the
Yeah,
word
they
park
do.
rangers
They're
mentioned,
Get rid of park
Probably.
rangers.
They're not
Another,
qualified.
something we,
I know,
but
it's a
it's very
bullshit
basic
job.
training. The machine is,
I agree with you
tells you what
entirely.
to do.
Give money to
Yeah.
the
It's not,
parks.
CPR is a little
Yeah.
bit more learned. but,
Correct.
Can we put that on the agenda?
So that's what I'm working on. It's an expense. I'm anticipating about 20,000 it's gonna cost, but I'm still working on the pricing for each box and then each AED that goes in the box. And then Jeff is gonna have costs for setting them up because they have little heaters in them. They need to be wired to powered. They need to be powered.
Is that for which parks?
Harbor Island to start.
Just Harbor.
Yeah, to start, see how it works.
But there's multiple locations you have to put them.
Yes, so there's about six. We would at
Right, so
least
the field-
six at first look at, when we're first looking at it, we think there's at least six right now that we're gonna need just for the harbor. Whereas like, if we want to expand this program, we would want to make sure that each park has an accessible electricity location and something like Jefferson would just be one. You know, they recommend 300 feet radius for each device, so.
Fire department.
And
Across the street.
yeah, the
Stretch it
devices.
to 5 and make people run a little faster.
Devices save lives. I think we would be forward thinking in doing this. I think we would be, in our area, we would be one of the first.
How
And I-
often has there been an emergency situation at the harbor where you would think you would utilize something like that?
I
Like, I
couldn't-
know I've seen an ambulance down the harbor before, but like really in reality, like,
I wouldn't be able to tell you on every call, but I've personally never seen it, so
I think anecdotally, we've all heard or read about kids dropping dead, just playing sports, and adults, of course.
Well, it's- yeah.
And I don't know if past performance is a good predictor of, that's one of,
No,
for
I'm
me
just- I'm just
personally,
curious.
I'm not aware of any incidents. Most of you know, I'm acting with the soccer program and I'm not aware of any incident like that, but I am very aware of incidents in high school sports and that sort of thing where it'd be nice to have it, to know it's there.
Well, absolutely. Get the blue light and the AED in every park. Put that in the right.
So the
5
blue light is $20,000 plus per station, so this is a way to start smaller. The blue light needs to be really wired. That's like an expensive.
It's a different type of like, almost like technology, to make sure it's wired to here and.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah,
a two-way
But
speaker.
it's part of the 5-year plan, so
Right.
throw it in.
Absolutely.
Right,
And that's
blue
something I
light.
brought up too, because I really wanted to push to get blue lights in all of our parks, but,
Wish list.
you know,
Oh, you're talking about like campus blue lights?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely,
interesting.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Mhm.
I have a question about camp that I would probably not wait till next summer, but a parent was saying that it would be really cool to have buses because the traffic for camp drop off is crazy. So I just don't know if that's ever been something that's been talked
It's an
about.
expense that we could never afford.
No, I don't see that ever
Um,
happening. We don't have.
unless
buses
Could it
that
be
go
an
around
add-on
there.
that we could
know.
offer? Is that
Unless-
something you can coordinate? Could the village staff coordinate that and offer it as an add-on, a paid add-on service? Do a
Bus
route
company.
in,
I think
in-
that's-
I think by the
that's-
time you pay the
Harbor
bus
Heights and-
company, the camp's gonna be so overpriced that.
It would be a
Oh.
fortune.
Okay, just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
Wasn't
busing is
sure.
a very expensive endeavor and
And then you have buses.
and then you're all over the
Riders,
village and
yeah.
then what about the kids in
It's
the
been so
town?
hectic because of the bridge project.
Gotcha.
Once
bridge-
that clears up and all the construction's
agree,
done up
it's-
there, it moves a little faster.
But like, even if you go to the Hommocks, I worked there for years and like, parents are waiting in line forever to get their kids from
Yeah.
Hommocks camp. You know, it's just,
Well, and it's more like,
we try to stagger the
It's-
pickup time.
I would say,
stagger-
my kids went to the village camp. It's a matter of, time management and
Yeah.
knowing when not to go
yeah.
and when to go, like just,
But
that
it's
people
also
need to
like,
plan a little
Do
bit
you
better.
need 200 cars going to drop off as opposed to one bus? Like, it's fine if it's not doable. I just wanted to ask the question.
I never had a
but-
problem, that's all.
It's an impossible cost
Yeah.
benefit analysis that will
Yeah.
never work.
And I think it would
Sorry.
be an
No,
ex-
it's okay.
I think it would be an
just wanted to throw it out
extraordinary amount of work for my small team to
Yeah.
even take the financial aspect out of it, just to even do it would be tough.
It's a huge job for the commercial big camps to figure out the routes.
I
and
don't really know
all
many
that.
camps that do it. unless
Well, a lot of
it's
them do, what they charge, you know,
around- Municipal
Yeah, the-
around
the-
here.
the
not
camps-
municipal, no, no.
Yeah, they're
private
expensive
camps.
camps.
Oh, very, very
They're a
private.
big
I don't
deal.
know. Like Brunswick, they'll pick you, if you go to Brunswick school, they'll pick you up. If you live
All right,
30 miles.
anything
All right,
Yeah, we
so,
North
Anything else?
I got a question, Jason,
Yes,
when you're done, are you done or no?
yes.
Just a question. Quickly, we were supposed to have a meeting with Field for Kids in December. It got
Correct.
postponed. And I'm
I-
praying to God that it got rescheduled for January, because that's what it was
Thank you.
stated.
Yeah, thank
So-
you, because
They reached out and, or Tina, I think, reached out today.
Today,
ask if
right.
We can meet tomorrow night. So that meeting is planned to happen during the month of January.
And
So are you meeting tomorrow?
I'm committed to meet tomorrow, but I don't.
I'm under
I
the,
don't know, because there was another email sent out
Yeah.
that one of the Fields for
Kids
Kids reps couldn't make it.
Exactly.
So
Oh, okay.
it's just.
Till
a scheduling thing,
6:30.
So we're still,
So you're
But I
still
know,
trying to
figure out. the
finalize
logistics.
I think it might be tomorrow, and if it is, we'll obviously update you, because
Yeah.
Dan's on the email
So,
thread.
so, yeah, Tina looped me in.
Dan's on it
Unfortunately,
now.
I don't know if I'll be able to attend. I'm not sure I can get home in time for that, but, I'd love to.
So
attend if it-
Supposed to scheduled for tomorrow night?
Yeah,
possibly.
Possibly, the email came in from Tina a little while.
4:30.
4:30
So
and
it's a little bit late in the day.
And where is
Yeah.
it being held and what time at the moment?
Right now,
The
it's
regatta conference room.
6:30 in the regatta.
we got a conference
There you
room.
got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
as of now, but I don't know.
that could change. Understood.
but don't worry, Carl, I know we talked about it.
Thank you for bringing it up, because I have no task about that too.
Thank you, Carlo.
I'll
So
be there.
on that, note, any other questions? Anybody want to make a motion to wind this down?
I'll make a motion.
You want-
Yeah, Timmy make the motion, you adjourn the meeting,
Okay, I'll make the motion, adjourn the meeting.
and I'll second the
There you
motion.
go.
All in favor?
Meeting adjourned.
Opposed? Nobody wants to keep this going? Keep the party going?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
guys.
Carlo, wherever you are, where is he?
Stay well. Bye-bye.
Massachusetts, on
Carla.
some road. I saw the email through.
Do you have that for every
I actually know the specific
Oh,
address.
yes.
Forever?
12 days.
All right,
Me too.
I gotta
I
run.
Bye, Carl. I'll talk to you later.
So
Yeah.
can we catch up,